Welcome everyone to Mailed Fuzz Movie News. Yes, it's been a while since there's been a movie news, but we are back. I am Peter. Connor is here, and because Connor is not doing as many TV reviews, this should be a bit more regular, depending on news actually happening.
Say, assuming there is news.
Yeah, because last time we did a TV news, there was going to be a movie news as well, but then there just wasn't that much news to talk about. So, asterisks. But we're here. And we're going to talk about some stuff that has happened in the past week or so. Some juicy details for some of the bigger films that are on their way. We're going to start with the official title of the fourth Matrix movie, which was revealed at CinemaCon. They showed a trailer. Now, the trailer's not online yet. They've not revealed the trailer to us.
I've not even seen this title yet.
Yeah, well, what do you think the word after
okay.
Matrix begins with?
Well, I know it's an R word, but I'm going to make. I genuinely have not seen this.
Okay.
Rebooted.
You know, given that it's about computers and in a virtual world and all that, that would be perfect, wouldn't it?
I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
They've
already used Reloaded, of course, so they can't use that again. But rebooted would make the most sense.
Especially, you know, it's been a long time. It's kind of coming back.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons.
It just makes sense. It's which means they probably haven't done that, but it's what I would call it.
No. Think more generic.
My brain doesn't do generic.
Yes, it does.
God damn it. I don't know. What is it?
The Matrix Resurrections.
Of course.
It's like the most boring choice.
Of course.
It's like the worst thing they could have picked. Because they thought, oh, let's mimic the fourth Alien movie. We'll use Resurrections.
But Rebooted is sitting right there.
I know. It's so stupid. So there's a couple of descriptions of like the scenes that were in the little teaser that they showed with Neil Patrick Harris playing a therapist, and there's some weird stuff where Neo doesn't really know who he is and whatever. But yeah, I mean the big news is just that there's a title and it's coming. I will say this: so having reviewed all three of these recently, because we did them on Ace, because you know the new one's coming out, so it made sense to go back and do all the originals. Mm-hmm. Watching the first one again, I was even more like in love with it than the last time I saw it, and it holds up and it gets better.
I watched it maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago for the first time in probably a decade, and I was like, God damn, this movie is still really good.
And it's even better because there was an interview with the Wachowskis, or at least one of them, talking about how a lot of it is kind of a metaphor for the trans experience, and when I watched it this time with that in mind, it added all these extra layers to things and it got even better. Like it's wonderful.
It's one of those things that I obviously never considered, and I think they even said that when they were making it at the time, it was a subconscious thing. It wasn't like an intentional thing they were putting in there, but when you stop and think about it, it's pretty clear and blatant throughout it.
There's one particular scene near the end that really feels like it's almost on the nose with how much it is, but obviously it feels very natural given the context of the movie and everything. But
yeah.
But then watching the sequels for the first time in like 15 years, like they are way worse.
Soon.
They are way worse than I remembered. Like I hated both of them. It's like I hate both for different reasons in a lot of ways, but Reloaded just doesn't know what it's trying to do. It's just vague and nonsensical with all of its philosophy. And then Revolutions, like it's everything. Like I can't believe they took one of the most interesting, menacing villains of cinema from the first movie and somehow completely ruined them by the third one. It's shockingly impressive. Like we talked at length about all three of those. Some of the best discussions we've ever had on the Atomic Cinema Experiment were on those Matrix movies. All for different reasons, because positive on the first one and then less so on 2 and 3, and why they shouldn't exist because the story is perfectly finished at the end of the first one. But they
apparently
exist.
It wasn't even perfectly finished at the end of the third one.
Well, you know, they like money, and having something saying the Matrix on it coming out will get some money because it's been a long time. Like I think if they'd released the fourth Matrix movie like 2 or 3 years after the third one, it probably would have bombed. I think it'd have been too fresh. Everyone was
now it's a bit of nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
I was at work the other day, and IT had a major screw up, which
Okay.
meant half of the things on our screen were not the names of the things they should have been. They were just codes. So instead of saying a product, it would say X-1508X-, and it was at first very complicated. Just seeing a list of code and being like, right, okay, what's this again? By the end of the day, it was like you just knew what all they were, and I was saying something. It felt like seeing the code of the Matrix. It's just like just I just see I can see the product and just made up of these code numbers.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that was the closest I've got to like thinking back, like in a positive experience on the Matrix as an idea in a while, where I'm like, oh yeah, the Matrix. That's good. There's the nostalgia in there now. I
Yeah.
don't think about 2 and
I
3.
I was like, when they were still first, talking about doing a fourth one and the news was coming out, I was kind of like, well, 2 and 3 weren't good, but I'm kind of curious. Maybe this will be a change. After watching 2 and 3 again, I'm actually expecting shit. I am expecting garbage, and I'll be impressed if it's anything better. Like, that is my feelings going into this.
I have not watched them in a long time, 2 or 3, because yeah, I've watched the first one, like I said, but I stopped there. So I'm not going any further.
And it's funny because obviously there's a lot of anime influence in the Matrix movies, and well, the first
Mhm.
one I don't think it's an issue because it's just a really well done story. It doesn't matter where the influences come from, and it shouldn't. But like when I got to like the end of the final fight between Neo and Smith in Matrix Revolutions in the third one, I was like, "This is
Which one's
anime
that?
trash."
Which fight scene is that? There's a lot of
They're
nonsense
they're
in
in
there.
the rain and they're flying around and there's big water bubbles
Love it,
happening
love it.
and
No, I would love it in anime trash, but I don't want it in the Matrix.
it's just nothing but garbage. Yeah, it's like there's one little good bit of the fight in the middle where it stops being silly and it's just them having a good fight, like in like hand to hand in a room in a real
Mhm.
set. But then it goes back to being big silly CG again, and it's this is just terrible. And the CG's aged
I really wonder
horrendously.
which direction it's going to go in for this one, because obviously CG is a lot better now. You can do a lot more things, but also, especially with Keanu, you've had the renaissance of John Wick and that style of choreography now. Will they take some influence from he's big in that? Do we want to pull some of that real world grounding into it?
That was the other thing I got by watching 2 and 3 as well, is that whenever they went into bullet time, it felt sad. It felt like you're trying to recapture the first one, and it just comes off as a trope rather than, even though it's the series that created it, even though it's this series' thing, it still felt like they were trying to
And
just be a shadow of
I,
the former self. It was kind of, I don't know.
yeah, and obviously I would expect there to be bullet time in this new
I
one,
would
and
too.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's unfair to I wouldn't hold that against them doing it, because it probably should have some.
There was just a sense that various sequences, because the one big thing Reloaded has is that it has that good highway chase for the most part, and the reason why that highway chase is good partly is because Neo's not there, and it's Morpheus sort of standing up and saying, "I'm going to try and take on an agent because I have to," and because we don't think he can do it, but he's going to try to anyway, you kind of root for him, and it's kind of a fun sequence. They're on top of a truck, and all the rest of it. But every fight with Neo was really boring, in Reloaded and Revolutions, pretty much. Um, they just didn't know how to do it. Once they turned him into superhuman inside the Matrix, it didn't work. They didn't know how to.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If what they're saying about the trailer, he's kind of forgotten who he is, so
Yeah,
to speak. I would expect, there's that first moment of him, almost accidentally going into bullet time and like, what the hell's going on? Kind of playing it that way, maybe.
maybe. So I mean, I could honestly, like, the 3 reviews combined. It's like, I don't know, like 4.5 hours or something of
Oh,
like
is that all?
discussion, and but the movies are so rich and stuff to talk about, even the bad ones, because there's so much stuff to like dissect why it's not working and what they've done wrong from a script writing standpoint. And that's the thing that really stuck out to me more than anything, is that the script for 2 and 3 is just shit. And the script for the first one is immaculate in the way that it builds and the way that everything works. And we kind of talked a lot about how it's kind of like how a band has, like, 20 years to write their first album, but then they only have like 2 to write album number 2. Uh,
Mhm.
it's kind of that effect in a lot of ways. You sort of get the feeling that they'd been working on that first script on and off for a long time, so it was
And then it was a
perfect.
hit and they needed sequels for money, and they're like, shit.
And they can claim it was always planned as a trilogy, but I don't. If it was planned, then they did not think about what the rest of that trilogy was until after the first one
It
came
was
out.
poorly planned, is what you're saying.
Yeah, if it was planned at all, and I'm not convinced it was.
Yeah.
So anyway, Matrix 4, Matrix Resurrections is coming later this year. So we probably will get this trailer soon. If it is coming this year allegedly, so we should be getting a trailer soon.
If it's been shown, it's out in the world.
Yeah.
It won't take long. It never does.
So that's coming. I imagine maybe. I mean, I'm sure we'll get the trailer before Dune comes out, but I imagine they're trying to hold most of the blitz marketing until after Dune because that's Warner Brothers' other big tentpole film. That's coming out a couple of months earlier.
If Dune was slightly closer to this news now, I'd say they'll be holding this trailer to put in front of Dune.
Maybe, but I don't know. It may just be a little too late because
that's what I'm thinking. It's just too long away, isn't it?
Because this is December. I think this is coming out, if I remember right. So
wait, that's still. I thought it was next year. This was coming out.
No, Matrix 4's out in December.
Are you shitting me?
No.
You don't mean December 2022?
Let me double check, but I am pretty sure Matrix 4 is.
I mean, maybe it is. I don't know. Time has no meaning anymore when it comes to movie releases because they just change all the time at the moment. That I don't believe any of them.
15th of December this year is the current release date.
I'm genuinely shocked. And we only just learnt the title.
Yeah, but they didn't really have to give it a title for a long time because it's just this Matrix 4.
No, that's true, but that's out in, what, 4 months?
To be fair, I mean, how long did they keep Endgame a secret, for Avengers?
Yes, but 4 months. And we don't have we just got a title. We don't have a teaser trailer. We don't have a promo image.
Soon.
Yeah, I should bloody hope it's soon.
Soon. But alright, I mentioned a Marvel thing there, so there's a couple of Marvel things to talk about, which I know Connor is super excited about.
I have such strong opinions on all Marvel news.
The big thing, obviously, this week was the trailer for Spider-Man: No Way Home, the third MCU Spider-Man movie. Which I said this when the news hit and the trailer came out, that it because the second one was the last Marvel movie before the pandemic, it feels kind of weird to have the third one already. Although that said, the content of the movie looks like it's tying in heavily to stuff that's been set up in some of the Disney Plus shows and Doctor Strange 2, which is coming next year. So it kind of feels like it has to come out in a reasonable time frame. So fair enough, but it does feel like Spider-Man's... And I know this is because Sony want them more frequently. That's the reason why.
I was going to say also, Sony has their own control. They only have Spider-Man. They need to pump those out. Marvel is
exactly.
Like, we can sit back and pump out whatever.
But it's noticeable. It's noticeable that Spider-Man versus the other solo characters are consistently more often. It would have been every 2 years. Obviously, the pandemic pushed things a bit, but
yeah.
So yeah, this is also coming December. Shocker. This is going to be competing with Matrix. But what's funny about this is that the trailer actually leaked a couple of days. In fact, that may be even why they put the official trailer out, because it leaked via a phone recording of another phone video. Like someone was filming a phone.
Yeah, wasn't it? And it was like a VFX person where it came from, right?
Presumably, but it was a previs. Like none of the effects were done. So the shots of the city and stuff were just like white blocks and stuff.
Which is a lot of the trailer.
Yeah. So it was kind of a weird... I didn't watch all of it because it was so awful.
Wait, if it was previs, had he been de-aged in that leaked version?
The quality is too bad to tell.
Oh, damn. That would have been the most interesting thing to me.
It's too blurry. It's like a screen from a screen from a screen. You can't tell.
Damn it.
But the big thing, of course, is that it does confirm what a lot of the rumors have been in terms of what this movie is going to be, is that we're getting into some Spider-Verse territory, and that is going to bring back other versions of characters and things from previous Spider-Man movie franchises. Now, there's one confirmed in the trailer at the very end. We see Doc Ock.
There's one hinted at.
And there's one heavily hinted at with a sound effect and a gadget. So it's not. So I'll mention those two because they're in the trailer. As much as it's rumored, and you could probably make some reasonable guesses, just in case you know the premise is that some things might come back, but you don't necessarily want to know exactly what they are. I won't say the other things I'm expecting or what has been heavily teased via
And
leaks.
let's be honest, it's likely true.
Yeah.
Once these ones were confirmed, you
Yeah.
can
So,
assume the rest are.
but we got Doc Ock at the end. We get a glimpse of him. That's your big sort of selling point at the end of the trailer. And we also get a Green Goblin laugh in the soundtrack, and we see one of these like bomb things on a bridge. So they're doing stuff with that. The trailer builds up to that, though. It gives you a lot of like the why this is happening, which is basically because Peter's identity was revealed, and life is hell because of it. Some of it's kind of charming, but most of it's just hell. So he goes to Doctor Strange and asks if there's a way to change that, and can we put the genie back in the bottle? And Doctor Strange, who many people are theorizing is not really Doctor Strange because he's willing to go through with it, does it.
Why? That doesn't seem like a character thing.
People think Mephisto's showing up soon, and Mephisto could be parading as Doctor Strange.
I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I mean, it's not out of character for Strange to go, screw it, let's do something wild.
I mean, people were expecting Mephisto in WandaVision like all season, and there was no Mephisto.
People want the Mephisto.
They kept seeing Easter eggs where there maybe wasn't some, or maybe they are there for later, and like Mephisto is coming soon, but like people kept thinking Mephisto, and instead it was Larry Bonner. I know you don't know who that is. I might even be getting the first name wrong, to be honest. But you remember Bonner. You don't forget Bonner. You don't forget a name like Bonner.
A name like Bonner. Why is that so memorable to you?
Well, Boner. It was
No, I know,
joke.
but I mean, it's not that memorable.
It's rememberable in the context of who turned out to have that name. Okay.
All right, fine.
Don't tell me. Don't critique what I'm remembering when you didn't even see the show. Okay.
No, I mean, fine.
So there's a lot of stuff. MJ obviously found out last movie, so she's in on everything, and there's a tease that maybe this will also wipe that anyone knows who he is, and that could sort of affect things. I think everyone watching is going to hope that doesn't happen because it's a little bit one more day or brand new day. Yeah.
Yeah, I always mix up which one's which, but I was definitely getting a lot of those vibes from it, being like, okay, we're kind of doing that story.
I suspect that they'll make the world forget who he is, but somehow find a way so that like the people who are supposed to
or
know,
he has to tell them all again.
Or he has to tell them all again. I mean, hell, that could be a sweet ending. Like, see if he just goes straight to MJ and says, "Look, I'm Spider-Man. Like, I'm not even pretending," because he seems to like her being in on it too much. He seems to like love having that.
Sure.
Because if they actually erase what relationship they've had, because basically it started after she found out, so it would wipe all of it away. It would be extremely frustrating, and there's a reason why people hate that in the comics. So, MCU, Feige, just be smart about it.
Surely they won't make the same mistake again.
I wouldn't imagine they will. I don't know. Maybe they'll give her like a magic hat that'll keep her from forgetting. Like that hat that Laszlo had on What We Do in the Shadows.
The cursed hat.
The cursed hat.
I've seen enough of that show to get that one.
Yeah, I've been rewatching. I'm early in season 2 now because season 3's starting soon.
I've only seen season 1, but I do need to watch the rest.
Yes. Oh, you absolutely should. You haven't even got to the Superb Owl party yet.
I have not.
See if you can guess what it is. What do you think they have gotten wrong here? The Superb Owl party.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. So as soon as you implied it was a misunderstanding,
yeah.
I was like, okay, I know what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Before I was just like, are they doing a thing? Like, you know.
Yeah, for the audience, Super Bowl party is what it actually is, but they don't get it. So, watch What We Do in the Shadows. It's fantastic. It's a great show. So, I may watch some more of that later. Now that I'm in the mood. Now I'm thinking about it. Okay, but just final thoughts on the Spider-Man trailer. It looks fine. It looks entertaining. It looks like I appreciate that they've kind of thrown caution to the wind, and they can just have a story where Spider-Man goes to Doctor Strange and says, "Hey, use magic to fix this," and that sets up this chaotic plot for the rather than having to, okay, here's the villain coming into town, and here's them like causing the inciting incident, and this is like there's a formula to superhero movies that we really have to leave behind, and I do think this plot, if nothing else, is going to allow them to avoid all of that, because it's just a completely fresh, different thing that they've not done before.
Unless he's not Doctor Strange after all, and he is Mephisto, in which case this is exactly that formula.
In which case, it's actually annoying, like the last one, because they kind of teased that Jake Gyllenhaal was a good guy for a bit, and everyone at home's like, "No, Mysterio was a bad guy. We're not believing you. Stop telling us he's the good guy."
I didn't know they did that.
Yes, they try and sell you like he's a good guy. And don't get me wrong, he plays it well. The reveal where it happens is well done on what's his Gyllenhaal's part. Yeah. So, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with the first Spider-Man. It's one of my favorite MCU movies. I think the second one, well, a little messier, does have a lot of good stuff in it too. I hope I like the third one as well. It's got a good cast.
The real question with this movie is, why should I not just watch Spider-Verse again?
I mean, that's a good question.
That's kind of what it has to answer.
I mean, I suppose for a lot of people, it's because you care about all the connections to what's came before and what's setting up for after. Because, I mean, the next Doctor Strange is called Multiverse of Madness, so it's heavily going to be falling on from this.
I agree with that side of things. I do wonder how much of the current audience who's been watching these movies for coming up on, 15 years, something like that, the MCU.
13.
How many of those... Yeah. How many of those care about the Raimi movies now? Like, genuinely. Like, what percentage of the audience there kind of cares that far back?
I think a lot. I see a lot of nostalgia for that trilogy online, and I don't agree with it.
Well, here's the thing. I agree that there is a lot of nostalgia for it, and we rewatched it a couple of years ago, and no thanks.
Yeah, not good.
I wonder how much of that is just the Twitter nerd noise bubble, and how much of the the general public, the $1 billion audience going to actually see these movies actually gives a toss about the Raimi trilogy.
I think enough. I think because they were big hits at the time, 1 and 2 in particular. I think, and again, it's that same thing as Matrix. It's that nostalgia. It's a good, it's been.
It is, and I'm genuinely wondering, especially with the Marvel movies, how many of the audience is now at the point where they're too young to have ever even seen those movies?
That's fair. There will be a portion that are in that younger demographic, but I think that more people will be over the line where they're old enough to have seen those, at least growing up. So like people from their mid-20s and up will know those movies, right?
Yes,
for sure. So maybe the teenagers won't, but the teenagers might see it and go, "Hey, I want to see what this is referencing," and maybe they'll go back.
Those poor bastards.
They'll go back and watch the
like, why are we referencing this
Tobey
shit?
Maguire dancing down the street with his symbiote stuff, So maybe that'll become a thing for them. But I think it'll work. I think the more interesting thing, someone pointed this out, is that this and the Flash, of all things, are basically doing the same thing at the same time. They've got Michael Keaton coming back as Batman in the Flash movie, and they're doing multiverse stuff to have that happen. It's kind of funny that we're getting Keaton, Tim Burton Batman nostalgia and Raimi Spider-Man nostalgia in different movies at the same time, more or less.
And here's the thing. The Flash TV show beat them all by bringing back Barry Allen from the 90s show.
It's true. I mean, a lot less people watch that.
I'm not arguing, but it's still the same thing.
I think it's safe to say that Batman in '89, which broke records, I think, at the time, and Spider-Man trilogy back in the 2000s were both much, much bigger than the Flash TV show, which was cancelled after one season in 1990.
I am not disputing that at all.
Oh dear. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not. As much as you're the one who's more down in the Marvel stuff, I'm not that high on it right now either. It's not like I'm not like I'm kind of indifferent to the next two movies, like Eternals and Shang-Chi. I'm just kind of like,
I'm in a weird place where I'm not like down on them. I don't hate them. I'm not like, these are terrible. I just don't care enough to even watch them. Like it's just indifference to an extreme.
I mean, part of it was because I was trying to plan a review with Matt, and then it just kept getting delayed. But like, it took me weeks to watch the Suicide Squad.
I've not watched it yet.
And I expected to like it, but I wasn't like super hyped. And it is good. Like, it is a well put together movie. And I was
very happy to see the reports today that it seems like it has been streamed on HBO Max more than Wonder Woman 84 or Justice League Snyder Cut.
Good.
Were. So
Better.
yes, More people want to see
And
Suicide Squad than the Snyder Cut. Good.
and I'll repeat what I said on the comics podcast this week, which you were not on, so it's fresh for you.
Refresh for me.
Yes. Harley Quinn by Margot Kidder was finally in a good movie, so we can move on. The next story.
Do you mean Margot Robbie?
I said Margot Kidder. Sorry, that was a slip. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn was finally in a good movie.
She already was.
No, she was not.
She was already in a great movie.
But R.I.P. to Margot Kidder, who was a wonderful Lois Lane.
She was one of the best.
Yes. So, sorry, there's the two Margos. I don't know any other Margos. I know Margot Kidder and Margot Robbie. Anyway.
You and the rest of the world.
So, sticking with Marvel for a bit, Anthony Mackie has closed the deal apparently to star in Captain America 4 or whatever it's going to obviously be called. It's not going to be called that, but
I'm shocked.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, did set up him becoming the new Captain America.
He had a lot of leverage in this. Let's be honest.
He did. He's probably getting a nice payday, and good for him. So it makes sense. I mean, I wasn't super hot on a lot. I thought his character's decision making to pick up that shield and what it means for a black man to be Captain America. I thought when they poked at those questions, that was really interesting and definitely the best thing about that show. But the villains and the structure and the storytelling and everything with Baron Zemo and he's dancing, yes, it sucked, everyone. I know it's a meme. I don't care. It's terrible.
But was it as bad as the James Gordon flash mob?
I've avoided watching it. I heard about it. I'm not going to look at it. I'm good. I think there's potential here, and I really like Winter Soldier. I really don't like First Avenger, and Civil War is kind of middling for a bunch of reasons. So I don't really have like Captain America as a movie franchise. I don't have this attachment where I'm expecting like this could really go any way in terms of quality. So I'm just like, okay, let's see what they do.
I'm assuming this isn't the Russos now that are involved in this one. It's someone else taking over.
No, it's actually I think it's one of the people who worked on the show is going to be the writer, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, but it makes sense. It makes sense. And another quick Marvel thing: Letitia Wright was actually injured on the set of Black Panther 2, and was taken to hospital. Although they did say later on they're minor injuries and it shouldn't affect the shooting schedule too much, but worth mentioning that happened. And maybe further, because they've not really admitted this yet, but she's probably the lead character in the second one. So
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah. She's probably putting on a Black Panther suit, let's be honest. That's probably happening.
Someone has to.
Yeah, otherwise...
It's not really a Black Panther movie,
Yeah,
is
you'd
it?
have to call it something else, I mean, cause it's called Black Panther Wakanda Forever. You could just call it Wakanda Forever. That'd be fine. Like that'd be an alright title if it was just those characters. But so no, very good. Oh, obviously, that's a tough movie to make for a lot of obvious reasons. Having lost Chadwick Boseman, who I was shocked to learn that today or yesterday it'd been a year since he passed away. I was like, I didn't realize it had already been a year.
Yeah, sounds about right.
It kind of hit me when I read that. But yeah, so there you go. So luckily nothing serious. So it should be okay. But felt worth tacking on to the other Marvel stuff. All right, do you want some DC movie news? You're chomping at the bit over there.
I mean, I probably have more to say on it. Although, is this real DC movie news or just more nonsense that they kind of announce every so often?
Well, I think given that you hinted that you liked the Birds of Prey movie, you're probably happy about this development.
Love the Birds of Prey movie.
Yeah. Well, one of the best parts of that movie, as much as I thought it was mostly mediocre with some really, really bad adaptation stuff going on, Cassandra Cain got done dirty.
One bad adaptation thing. One thing. That doesn't really matter.
It does. Anyway, so Black Canary is a thing that is going to happen, much like much like the Batgirl movie is going to be a HBO Max movie. So it's not going to theaters. It's a cheaper, which honestly, given her power set, and maybe the more street level sort of crime that she might be fighting might actually work out fine.
I don't want Black Canary being a let's fight the big alien light in the sky movie.
That is fair. And they've got Journey Smollett back for it, which is nice. And I honestly think the most exciting thing about all of this is who they've got writing it, and that is Misha Green, who was the showrunner on Lovecraft Country, which also happened to star Johnny Smollett. So, that part is very exciting. Now, as an actress, I like her a lot, but I love Lovecraft Country. I thought it was really well
That was
written.
so good.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of potential in this. Getting rid of the over the top Harley Quinn that was in that movie, which I did not like. We can debate like good or bad of that, but taste is a
Taste is
factor here.
subjective. You can be wrong.
But you take that away, and you just have Johnny Smollett being a badass with Misha Green writing that character, and all of a sudden I'm a lot more interested. So
Mm.
I see potential in this.
There should be. It sounds great. I don't see literally anything bad about this announcement.
Yeah. Also worth mentioning that Blue Beetle is also another one that's a HBO Max movie in development. So they've got three. They've got Blue Beetle, Batgirl,
Is that a
Black
confirmed one,
Canary.
or is that just another? Yeah, maybe.
It just says here gaining momentum, but Batgirl's definitely like being
Batgirl
worked on.
definitely is, and I know obviously this one is because the two people attached have actually publicly tweeted about it and stuff.
I don't remember the specific news when it came out, but presumably if they've hired maybe writers at least for Blue Beetle or something, then it's.
Okay, that's one I'll believe more when I see it.
I
Black
think
Canary feels more solid already.
I get the skepticism because of the amount of stuff that Warner Brothers have announced in the past. I feel more confident in that just purely because now it's HBO Max announcing they're developing a movie for the service. It feels more
Mm.
specific. It feels more, it can still fall through because anything can, but it feels more like any other like HBO saying, "Oh, we're working on a thing," and maybe some of them fall through, but they are developing something. Uh,
That's fair. Yeah.
so, whereas when it was just like, here's 25 things in the works at Warner Brothers for movies, and you just like, yeah, I don't believe half of this
Yeah.
crap
I
is
wonder
going
what
to
I wonder
happen.
what version of Blue Beetle they're doing for the movie.
I think it's Jaime. I think if I remember anything, I think it was Jaime Reyes who's the
That
character.
makes sense. They'll want their answer to Spider-Man, which is essentially what Jaime Reyes is in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so cool. Plus, I mean, they've already got other characters who are rich white men, putting on suits. It's far more interesting, I think,
And
to have
speaking
Jaime Reyes.
of, I would not be opposed to a Green Arrow showing up in this Black Canary movie at some point, or just establishing that
Oh,
there's one
sure.
around for a sequel.
It wouldn't surprise me if they cast someone and have him be there as a character. Would not
Yeah.
shock me at all. So cool. So all right, some non-comic book stuff. Not a lot of it, admittedly, this time, but we have a biopic in the works for Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek.
Hmm.
Obviously, Star Trek's something that we've been working through over the last several years at this point. His 100th birthday, or would have been his 100th birthday, of course, was recent. So, uh, yeah. So Roddenberry Entertainment has been working quietly on a feature biopic of the sci-fi icon, and as a script by Adam Mazer, whose credits include the Emmy-winning script for the 2010 HBO movie You Don't Know Jack, which starred Al Pacino as Dr. Jack Kevorkian. I don't know who that is, but presumably it was a hit at the time.
I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
My only concern out of everything you've just said there
Mm-hmm.
is this seems like a licensed biopic. So
Mm.
it's probably going to be very, Roddenberry Estate. It's going to be, everything's in a positive light. It's going to be one of those cheery, feel-good ones, but
I
probably
suspect.
is very sanitized.
And they're not going to talk about how much of a horny pervert he was back when he started Next Generation, and like there was all these weird sex planets and rape gangs,
I
and
really hope they do,
that's
but they're
a
not going to.
that's a subject I want to be explored
Yeah.
more than anything. So yeah, it's I mean, there's not much to really add to it right now. It definitely seems like a person who you aren't surprised would get this kind of treatment. In a lot of ways, modern science fiction owes a lot to Roddenberry. I think Roddenberry and Rod Serling, or Twilight Zone and Star Trek. A lot can thank those things for existing.
They can. And even today, Star Trek stands apart in being very having a utopian vision of the future rather than a
Yeah,
dystopian one. That is still in the vast minority of sci-fi.
yeah, because it feels unique, and Twilight Zone was just nothing but like all these ideas that eventually became other things and movies and TV shows, and but it was just such a breeding
It was
ground.
like a blueprint for
Yeah.
media for the next 50 years.
Because even Star Wars like was based on other things. Like Star Wars, it was inspired by the serials from the old days and samurai movies were the two kind of main inspirations. And obviously, a lot of things can thank Star Wars for making sci-fi more mainstream in a way that it hadn't been yet. But Star Trek and Twilight Zone, in terms of just like actually creating science fiction, I think was a big deal for just how people write and respect sci-fi these
I don't
days.
disagree. Yeah.
So that makes sense. It's just a good person to base a biopic on. I'm not a big biopic person, admittedly, but
No, they tend to be often very dry, often pretty samey, especially these sanitized, licensed ones, so to speak. But I don't know. Maybe it'll surprise us.
yeah. So this last thing is actually not a new movie. I remember ranting about it being announced. Paramount Plus are doing a new Pet Cemetery of some kind.
Of
After
course they are.
after that remake from a couple of years ago was just absolute garbage. Now they
That
now
was
they're,
rough.
they're threatening us with another one. And they've announced a couple of cast members though, which I thought was interesting. So you get Henry Thomas, who was in The Haunting of Hill House, so he was good in that, and he's been in some other things, but that's the main thing I know him from. And then they also cast the star of the hit video game adaptation Super Mario Brothers. Samantha Mathis is going to be in the new Pet Cemetery. I had no idea she was still acting. I thought she hadn't done anything since the 90s.
When you start going hit video game adaptation, I was like, right, which one are you going to go for? Where's this going?
The one
Because
that,
let's be honest, it could have been any of them.
that's very true. Although I will stand that Super Mario Bros. Is actually one of the most watchable and entertaining ones. It's not a good movie, but goddamn, it's an interesting movie.
You got that. You've got the 7-ish minutes of the Doom movie, which is all that first person sequence, which is stupid but fun.
Haven't had the pleasure.
I don't watch the whole movie. Just watch that sequence. You're good.
We'll do it on Ace at some point. I'm going to see it.
All right, fair enough. And then Tomb Raider was okay. Tomb Raider was solid.
I would say so. I'd say solid only in the sense that the standards are so low. It was definitely better than a lot of other things, but there was still a lot of steps that needed to be taken.
It wasn't like a great movie, but it was a solid B tier adventure movie.
Okay, they had moments. There's a couple of scenes in it I liked, but overall I was a bit disappointed.
Hey, they're gonna screw over Uncharted. We already know that. In fact, the cast are already talking about how shit it is. It's not even out yet.
Yeah, Tom Holland already saying he regrets his performance in the movie's not even. And then I'm like, yeah, but Mark Wahlberg's also in it, so you're going to look like a great actor standing next to him.
Maybe that was his thing. He was like, I don't need to try in this one.
Oh my god! Do you know what's funny is that there was less news in the movie news, but we somehow talked longer than we did in the TV news. I guess it was just more interesting topics.
I guess it was, yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. That was the last thing I had here, movie news wise. I don't know if there was anything that you had burning under your.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, I don't. Nothing else stuck out to me when I was looking for news, but there's some interesting stuff coming. It's kind of a weird time because movies are starting to be back in theaters, and some of them
are also getting delayed again.
Yeah, but some of them are notably like only in theaters, and it's really kind of presenting me with this weird like I've not made the leap yet, and nothing's like everything's kind of like what I do want to go back to movies, but I don't feel like we're there yet, and I'm.
That's it. Like had Green Knight come out over here, I probably would have gone to see that, but I'm not going to go see Shang-Chi in the movies. I'm not going to see it at home, so
yeah. Well, I think Shang-Chi, I think, is also got the premiere access on Disney.
I think it does.
I think that's maybe the last one of the Marvel.
And I know
stuff.
there was a lot of talk of rumors about how, depending on how that one performs, Eternals might get pushed. Because I think Venom got pushed a few weeks.
It wasn't a big delay, but it was a delay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a few weeks. That's how it starts.
That's how it starts. The anger, then the rage.
I knew you were going to do that. Maybe Dune will be the one that gets me back to the cinema because I know it'll be on Max.
Yeah, that's on Max too. Yeah,
but I kind of want to. It looks like it might be worthy of the spectacle of a theater.
It does. It does. I mean, that's the thing where if that wasn't also on Max, it might be the one that does it because it's actually kind of a big movie that feels worth going to see. I like. Yeah, there's movies that are tempting either because they're exciting or because like they're too interesting to talk about, even if I don't think I'm going to like them. But it's just kind of questionable, and it also depends if other people who I would be talking to about them on a review are wanting to go and see them. Because if they're not, then I'll just wait. But
Apparently,
yes,
barring any more postponements, um, the new Bond movie comes out in a month's time. That that might be. I know obviously you don't give a
no, I
shit,
don't.
but that might be the
I
one. I have not missed a Bond movie in the cinema since I mean, I don't know. Basically, since I was born, I've been to every single one
I
since then
I don't
in the
need.
cinema.
I do not need a pandemic to get me to stop going to a Bond movie. I don't need it.
No, I don't.
I'll stay
Yeah, I've
home
seen
regardless.
all of them since. Well, the world is not enough for sure. I remember, in cinema. I remember every single one of those,
Hmm.
and I was 5 when that came out.
Interesting. Well, there you go. That's the movie news. That wraps us up. So let us know what you thought of any of the topics brought up on the news this episode. In the comments, please do like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. It is obviously very important to YouTube channels. That YouTube dictates success based on those things. So please do hit the buttons. As far as movie reviews coming up, or just came out, the last episode of Ace that went out was the classic Invisible Agent, which is the fourth movie in the Invisible Man franchise that we returned to. That's right.
There's that
Yes.
many?
Oh yeah, there's tons. So check out that. It's not a great movie, so we had a lot of fun kind of poking holes at it, as it were. Sacred Hockey Mask. We just did The Empty Man, which was I didn't like it that much, but it had a lot of buzz, so maybe it would have been interesting. You know, if you did like that
Maybe you're
movie,
just wrong, is what you're saying.
I thought, honestly, it was a slightly better version of a crappy Hellraiser sequel. That's basically what I'm going to say.
Which
So
one?
5 and 6.
Oh, I haven't seen those. I've only seen the first 3.
Oh, you should watch. You should watch 4, 5, and 6.
But should I though? Because you just
You
said
should.
it's slightly better than the crappy versions, and you didn't even like this one.
You should. You should put yourself through that.
Well, all I'm saying is October's coming up.
7 as well. 7 was a hoot.
October's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll happen.
Mm-hmm. So check out those, and also those classic episodes being ported over from the TV channel every few days as well. So you'll have a peek, and also check out MailFuzz TV as well if you want to check out the TV reviews that have been going up and TV news and stuff. But yeah, otherwise, catch us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to support the show with some money. You can do that over there for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses. Otherwise, catch us on Twitter at Streams Midnight for the MailFuzz movies Twitter, and keep up to date with us and say hello and whatever else. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, and if you can get it, it's always nice to have diplomatic immunity.